The smoky air of the cantina hung thick with the smell of alien drinks and old memories. Zekthara sat alone in his corner booth, just like every night. His 3 arms moved slowly as he lifted his glass. The empty sleeve where his 4th arm used to be told its own story. The cantina was busy tonight. Traders from 12 different worlds mixed together, their voices creating a buzz of different languages. But they all spoke quietly when they looked at the old Valdorian veteran. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone knew what he had seen. A group of young Centaurians had been watching him for an hour. Their green scales shifted color with excitement. Finally, the bravest one walked over. His friends followed close behind. "Excuse me, sir," the young alien said. His voice shook a little. "Are you really Zek, the one who fought in the human wars?" The old veteran looked up. His large compound eyes reflected the dim lights of the cantina. He had been expecting this. Young ones always wanted to hear the stories. They had grown up in peace. They did not understand what war really meant. "Yes," Zekthara said simply. "I am. Could you tell us about it?" Another young Centaurian asked. "About the humans." Zekthara was quiet for a long moment. He stared into his drink. The liquid was purple and thick. It came from his home world. It helped him forget sometimes. But tonight, he would remember. "Sit down," he said finally. The young aliens sat quickly. Soon, others began to listen too. Word spread through the cantina. The old veteran was going to tell his stories. Even the bartender, Rix, leaned forward to hear. Rix had tentacles instead of arms and knew all the best stories in the galaxy. But even he wanted to hear these tales again. "What do you know about humans, Zekthara?" asked the young ones. "They are our allies now," one said. "They help protect the galaxy." "They are very smart," said another, "and they make good music." "They are peaceful," added a third. Zekthara made a sound that might have been laughter, but there was no joy in it. "Peaceful," he repeated. "Yes, they are peaceful now. But you did not see them during the war. You did not see what they could do when they were angry." He took another drink. The cantina grew quieter. Even the music seemed to soften. "Let me tell you something about humans," Zekthara continued. "When the war started, we thought they were weak. The Galactic Council called them primitive mammals. They had just learned to travel between stars. We had been doing it for thousands of years." The young aliens nodded. This part they knew from their history classes. "We thought conquering Earth would be easy," the veteran said. "We had better weapons, better ships, more soldiers. We thought it would take maybe a month, but it did not," asked one of the listeners. "No," Zekthara said, "it did not. The war lasted 3 years. And in those 3 years, we learned that humans are not like other species. They do not fight like we do. They do not think like we do." He paused and looked around the cantina. In one corner, 2 human traders were playing cards with a Rigelian merchant. They were laughing and joking. They looked so normal, so harmless. "Look at them," Zekthara said, pointing. "What do you see?" "Just regular people," said a young Centaurian. "That is what we thought too," the veteran replied. "We saw their small ships and their simple weapons. We saw how they cared for their families and their friends. We thought they would give up quickly, to protect the ones they loved, but they did not give up." "Oh, they cared about their families," Zekthara said. "They cared so much that they became something else entirely. Something we had never seen before." The old veteran's voice grew softer. The cantina was completely quiet now. Even the music had stopped. "Humans fight, like the whole universe belongs to them," he said. "Like every planet is their home. Like every star is their sun. When you threaten what they love, they do not just fight you, they become your worst nightmare." A young alien raised his hand. "But they are small and they are not very strong." "Size does not matter," Zekthara said. "Strength does not matter. What matters is what is in here." He tapped his chest with one of his arms. "And humans have something in their hearts that we did not understand. Something that made them more dangerous than any weapon." "What?" several voices asked at once. "Hope," the veteran said simply. "Humans never stop hoping. They never stop believing. They can win even when everything looks impossible. Even when they are surrounded and outnumbered. They keep fighting because they believe in tomorrow." He finished his drink and set the glass down carefully. "That is what made them so terrifying. Not their weapons, not their ships, their hope. Because when you have hope, you can do anything. You can turn the impossible into the possible." The cantina was silent. The young alien stared at Zekthara with wide eyes. "Would you like to hear the real stories?" he asked. "About what happened when hope met war?" They all nodded eagerly. "Then order me another drink," Zekthara said, "and prepare yourselves. What I am about to tell you will change how you see humans forever." Zekthara took a long drink from his fresh glass. The young aliens waited quietly. Even the other customers in the cantina had stopped talking. Everyone wanted to hear what came next. The first real battle happened on a planet called Kepler 4 for 2b. The old veteran began. "It was a mining world. Nothing special. Just rocks and metal and 3,000 humans digging in the ground." He held up 3 of his fingers. 3,000 humans. "We brought 50,000 soldiers to fight them. We thought it would be over in one day." The young Centaurians looked at each other. 50,000 against 3,000 seemed like an easy win. The planet was perfect for mining, Zekthera continued, full of tunnels and caves. The humans had been digging there for 10 years. They knew every rock and every hole in the ground. He paused and looked at his missing arm. We landed our ships in the morning. By noon, we controlled the surface. The humans had run into their tunnels like scared animals. Our generals were already planning victory celebrations, but something was wrong, asked one of the young listeners. Everything was wrong, Zekthera said, but we did not know it yet. We marched our soldiers into the tunnels to finish the job. Easy work, we thought. Just find the humans and make them surrender. The veteran's voice grew darker. The first tunnel collapsed when we were halfway through. Buried 50 soldiers in 1 second. We thought it was an accident. Old mining tunnels fall down sometimes. But it was not an accident. No, the humans had rigged the tunnels with explosives, but not random explosives, smart ones. They knew exactly where we would walk. They knew how many soldiers we would send. They let us get deep into the tunnels before they started the avalanche. Zekthera set down his glass and used his 3 arms to draw a map on the table. The planet had 5 main tunnel systems. We sent 10,000 soldiers into each one. The humans waited until all 50,000 of us were underground. Then what happened? Then they showed us why humans are the most dangerous miners in the galaxy. The veteran said, they did not just collapse the tunnels. They turned the entire planet into a weapon. The young aliens leaned forward. This was better than any adventure story. The humans had spent 10 years learning every secret of that planet. Zekthera explained. They knew which rocks were weak. They knew where the underground rivers flowed. They knew how to make the ground shake in exactly the right way. He made a rumbling sound deep in his throat. First, they collapsed the main tunnels. Not to kill us, but to trap us. Then they flooded some areas with water. Then they filled others with poisonous gas from the mining equipment. Were you trapped, too? Asked a young Centaurian. I was in Tunnel 3 with 2,000 other soldiers, Zekthera said. We thought we were winning. We had captured some mining equipment and were using it to dig toward the humans. Then the lights went out. The cantina seemed to grow darker as he spoke. In the darkness, we heard sounds, scraping, digging, but not from in front of us. From above, from below, from the sides. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They were digging new tunnels around you. Round us, under us, over us. They were using their mining machines to create a maze. Every time we tried to go one way, they would block it. Every time we found a new path, it would lead to a dead end. Zekthera's eyes grew distant. We realized we were not chasing the humans anymore. They were hurting us, like animals. They were making us go exactly where they wanted us to go. Where did they want you to go? To the center of the planet, the veteran said quietly. To the deepest mine shaft. They had turned it into a trap bigger than anything we could imagine. He took another drink before continuing. It took us 3 days to reach the center. 3 days of walking through their maze. We lost soldiers every hour. Not to fighting. To the planet itself. Rocks fell on us. Water flooded our path. Gas made us sick. But you reached the center. Yes, all 50,000 of us who were still alive, we came out of the tunnels into a huge underground cave. The humans were waiting for us. Zekthera smiled, but it was not a happy smile. 3,000 humans against 30,000 of us. We thought we finally had them. We started to attack, and then we met Engineer Minho, the veteran said. He was standing next to a big red button. Just one human with one button. He looked at all of us and started to laugh. The young aliens held their breath. Minho spoke into his radio. We could hear him through our translators. He said, tell my wife I love her. Tell my children I am proud of them. Tell Earth at Kepler 44 to be remembers. What did the button do? It turned the entire mine into one giant bomb, Zekthera said. Minho had connected every explosive charge on the planet. Every mining charge, every fuel tank, every power cell. All connected to one button. Did he press it? He pressed it while looking right at us. He smiled and pressed it. The cantina was completely silent. I lost my arm in that explosion. Lost 20,000 soldiers. The humans lost their planet and their lives. But they won. How did they win if they died? Because they taught us that humans do not fight to live, Zek said. They fight so that the things they love can live. And that makes them the most dangerous enemies in the galaxy. Zekthera's 3 arms trembled slightly as he reached for his drink. The memory of what came next still gave him nightmares. The young aliens waited patiently. They could see this story was harder for him to tell. After Kepler 4 for 2b, everything changed. The old veteran said, our leaders were angry. They decided to bring our biggest warship to Earth, the Eternal Dominion. It was the size of a small moon. He looked around the cantina. This whole station could fit inside one of its cargo bays. 800 crew members. The most advanced weapons in the galaxy. We thought nothing could touch us in space. But the humans found a way. Asked a young Centaurian. Humans always find a way. Zekthera replied. But this time was different. This time they came to us. The veteran took a long drink. I was working in the command center when it started. It was a quiet day. We were floating near Earth's moon, planning our attack. Everything was normal. Then what happened? The lights started acting strange. Zektora said they would flicker, on and off. Fast, too fast. At first we thought it was just a power problem. Ships that big sometimes have electrical issues. He rubbed his compound eyes with one hand. But the flickering had a pattern. It was making some of our crew sick. Valdor have sensitive eyes. The flashing lights were giving us headaches and making us dizzy. The humans were already on your ship. We did not know that yet, the veteran said. We just knew something was wrong. Then the sound started. What sounds? Singing, Zektora said simply. Human singing, but not happy songs. War songs, battle songs. They came through our communication system, loud and scary, and everywhere at once. The young aliens looked confused. Singing does not sound very dangerous. You have never heard human war songs, the veteran replied. They are not just music. They are weapons. The sounds they make can freeze your blood, make your hands shake, make you afraid even when you do not know why. He made a low humming noise. The songs were in their ancient language. We did not understand the words, but we understood the feeling. They were telling us that death was coming. How many humans were on your ship? 12, Zektora said. Just 12 humans against 800 of us. But they moved like ghosts, like shadows. We never saw them coming. The cantina was completely quiet now. Even the bartender had stopped cleaning glasses. Their leader was Commander Jiho, the veteran continued. We found out his name later. He was small, even for a human, but he knew our ship better than we did. How was that possible? Humans study everything, Zekthar explained. While we were planning to attack them, they were learning about us. They knew how our ships worked. They knew how we thought. They knew our weaknesses. He pointed to his missing arm. They even knew our anatomy. Where to hurt us, how to make us afraid. What did they do first? They turned off the gravity in Section 7, the veteran said. Just that section. All the soldiers there started floating around like toys. Then they turned off the air in Section 12. Then they made Section 4 too hot to enter. They were controlling your ship. Piece by piece, Zekthara said. They would take one section, fix it so we could not use it, then move to the next section, like they were solving a puzzle. The old veteran's voice grew quieter. But the worst part was the messages. Messages. They left writing on the walls, he said. Written in our blood, our own blue blood. But not threats. Something much worse. What did they write? Instructions, Zektora said. They told us how to improve our ship's defenses. They pointed out all the mistakes in our security. They gave us advice on how to fight better. The young aliens looked shocked. They were helping you? No, the veteran said. They were showing us how stupid we were. They were proving that they understood our ship better than we did. It was like having a teacher who could kill you anytime he wanted. Did you ever see Commander Jiho once? Zekthara said. We finally tracked him down in the food storage area. He was sitting at a table, eating our emergency rations and reading our tactical manuals. What was he doing? Learning, the veteran replied. Even while he was destroying our ship, he was still studying us. When we surrounded him with 20 soldiers, he looked up and smiled. What did he say? He said, you really should improve your ventilation security, Zekthara remembered. Then he pointed up at the air vents above our heads. There were more humans in the vents. All 11 of his team members, the veteran said. They had been watching us the whole time, waiting for us to find their leader so they could capture all 20 of our soldiers at once. Did they kill? You know, Zekthara said. That was the strangest part. They could have killed all of us easily. Instead, they just took our weapons and locked us in a storage room. Why? Because Commander Jiho was not trying to destroy the ship, the veteran explained. He was trying to steal it. All 12 humans walked our ship right up to Earth's moon and handed it over to their navy. They stole your entire battleship. With 800 prisoners inside, Zekthara said, it was the most embarrassing defeat in Valdorian history. We had come to conquer Earth. Instead, we gave them our best warship as a gift. He finished his drink. That was when we realized we were not fighting soldiers. We were fighting something much more dangerous. We were fighting humans who could think. Zekthara touched his missing arm gently. His voice became softer now. The anger was gone, replaced by something harder to understand. The young aliens could see this story was different from the others. The strangest human I ever met was not a warrior, he began. She was a healer. Her name was Hannah. She saved my life, and I still do not understand why. He looked down at his empty sleeve. This happened during the battle for Harmony Station. It was a trading post between two star systems. Both sides wanted to control it. You were fighting there. Yes. My unit was ordered to take the medical center. We thought it would be easy. Healers do not fight, right? They just fix people who get hurt. Zekthara shook his head slowly. We were wrong about that too. Human healers are not like other healers. They carry weapons. They know how to fight, but they also know how to save lives. What happened to you? Plasma grenade, the veteran said simply. A human soldier threw it at our group. I was too slow to get away. The explosion burned half my body and tore off 2 of my arms. The young aliens winced. Plasma burns were some of the worst injuries possible. My squad left me behind, Zekthara continued. I was dying. Too hurt to move, too hurt to call for help. I just lay there in the rubble, waiting to die. But you did not die. No, because Hannah found me. The old veteran took a sip of his drink. I woke up 3 days later in a human medical center. I thought I was dreaming, or maybe dead. Why would humans save an enemy soldier? What did you see when you woke up? Hannah was checking my bandages, Zekthara said. She was young, maybe 25 human years old. She had blood on her uniform, but she was being very gentle with my wounds. He paused, remembering. I tried to speak, but my throat was too dry. She gave me water, real water, not the cheap recycled stuff. Good water that probably came from Earth. Were you afraid? Terrified, the veteran admitted. I knew humans were dangerous. I had seen what they could do. I thought maybe she was keeping me alive to torture me later. But she was just healing you. She was doing more than that, Zekthara said. She was using human medical supplies on me, expensive medicine, the kind they probably needed for their own wounded soldiers. The young aliens looked confused. Why would she waste good medicine on an enemy? That is what I asked her, the veteran said. When I could finally speak, I said, why are you helping me? I am your enemy. What did she say? She looked at me with those strange human eyes, Zekthara remembered. Blue eyes, like pieces of sky. She said, because you are hurt. That was her only reason. I thought she was lying, the veteran said, so I asked her again. But I was trying to kill your people. Why save me? She just kept working on my bandages and said, because that is what healers do. Zekthara shook his head. I could not understand it. The same hands that were healing me had probably killed my comrades a few hours earlier. How could someone be a killer and a healer at the same time? Did you ask her about that? Yes, she told me she had been in 3 battles that week. She had shot enemy soldiers to protect her medical center. But as soon as the fighting stopped, she went back to saving lives. The old veteran looked around the cantina. She showed me something that day. She brought me to the main ward of the medical center. What did you see? Humans and aliens lying side by side, Zekthara said. Human soldiers, Valdorian soldiers, Centaurian soldiers, all getting the same treatment, all being healed by the same doctors. They were healing their enemies. Not just healing them, the veteran explained. Hannah told me that human doctors had given blood transfusions to save Valdorian lives. They had shared their food with hungry prisoners. They had even sent medicine to alien refugee camps. That makes no sense, said a young Centaurian. Why? Help people who are trying to kill you. That is what I said, Zekthara replied. Hannah sat down next to my bed and tried to explain. She said, we fight because we have to. But we heal because we choose to. What did that mean? She told me that humans do not fight because they hate their enemies, the veteran said. They fight because they love something that needs protecting. Their families, their homes, their way of life. Zekthara finished his drink. But when the fighting stops, that love does not turn off. It keeps going. It makes them want to heal everyone, even their enemies. Did she really believe that? I tested her, the veteran said. I told her I would try to escape. I would go back to my army and fight against humans again. I asked if she would still heal me. What did she say? She said yes, Zekthara replied. She said it was not her job to decide who deserved to live. Her job was just to keep people alive. Did you try to escape? No, the veteran said quietly. I stayed in that medical center for 2 weeks. I watched Hannah save the lives of dozens of soldiers from both sides. I saw her cry when she could not save someone. It did not matter if they were human or alien. That changed how you thought about humans. It showed me the most terrifying thing about them, Zekthara said. They do not fight because they are monsters. They fight because they care too much. And when someone fights because they love something, they will never give up. The cantina was quiet for a long moment. That is why we could never win, the veteran concluded. You cannot defeat an enemy who heals you even while fighting you. You cannot conquer people who see you as worth saving. Zekthara looked around the cantina one more time. The crowd had grown larger during his stories. Aliens from many different worlds sat quietly, waiting to hear how the war ended. Even some humans had joined the group, listening to the old veteran tell his tales. The war did not end with a big battle, Zekthara said. It ended with a conversation. The strangest conversation in galactic history. He pointed to one of the humans in the crowd. 3 years after the fighting started, a human diplomat named Sora came to our capital world. Just one small human woman, walking into a room full of angry alien leaders. Was she not afraid? If she was afraid, she did not show it, the veteran replied. She walked into that room like she owned it, but she did not come with threats or demands. She came with gifts. What kind of gifts? Knowledge, Zekthara said. She knew things about us that we had forgotten about ourselves. She spoke perfect Valdorian, not just the words, but the old ceremonial language that only our priests use. The young aliens looked amazed. Very few non-Valdorians could speak their regular language, let alone the ancient one. She knew our history better than our own historians. The veteran continued. She talked about Valdorian poetry from 1,000 years ago. She quoted our old laws. She even knew the names of our ancestors. How was that possible? While we were fighting the war, the humans were studying us, Zekthara explained. Not just our weapons and our ships, everything. Our culture, our beliefs, our dreams, our fears. He took a sip of his drink. Sora did not just know about Valdorians. She knew about every species in the room. She spoke to the Centaurians about their sacred mating rituals. She discussed Regilian mathematics with their professors. She knew more about us than we knew about each other. What did she want? To end the war, the veteran said. But not by making anyone surrender. She wanted to end it by making everyone win. The young aliens looked confused. How can everyone win a war? By realizing that the war was stupid from the beginning, Zekthara said. Sora showed us something we had never seen before. She showed us what we could accomplish if we worked together instead of fighting each other. What did she show you? Maps of the galaxy, the veteran explained, but not the maps we knew. These maps showed threats from outside our region. Dangerous things in the dark spaces between stars. Pirates and raiders, and worse things that we had never noticed. Zekthara's voice grew serious. She told us that while we were fighting each other, real enemies were moving closer. Enemies that would destroy all of us if we did not work together. Was she telling the truth? Yes, the veteran said. We found out later that human scouts had discovered at least 3 major threats heading toward our part of the galaxy. The humans could have kept that information secret. They could have let us destroy each other and then faced those threats alone. But they did not. No, they shared everything they knew. They offered to help protect us from enemies we did not even know existed. Zekthara smiled for the first time that evening. That was when we realized we had been fighting the wrong war. The humans were not trying to conquer us, they were trying to save us. So you made peace. We made more than peace, the veteran said. We made an alliance, but not the kind where one side wins and the other side loses. A real alliance where everyone benefits. He gestured around the cantina. Look around you. Do you see how many different species are here? Working together, trading together, living together. The young aliens looked around. They saw Valdorians sharing drinks with humans, Centaurians playing games with Regilians, species that had been enemies for centuries now, acting like old friends. This is what Sora created, Zekthara said, not just peace, but understanding. She showed us that our differences made us stronger, not weaker. How did she do that? By proving that humans had spent 3 years learning to love their enemies. The veteran explained. Every battle they fought, they were also studying us, learning about us, trying to understand us. That is why they were so good at fighting you. And that is why they were so good at making peace with us. Zekthara said. You cannot make real peace with someone you do not understand. But if you know their culture, their needs, their dreams, then you can find ways to help each other. The old veteran finished his drink and stood up slowly. Today, I work with human military advisors. The same species that once terrified us now helps train our soldiers. Not to fight each other, but to fight the real threats that come from the dark spaces. Do you trust them now? I trust them more than I trust my own people sometimes, Zek admitted, because I know that when humans make a promise, they keep it. When they call you a friend, they mean it. When they say they will protect you, they will die trying. Just then, a group of human officers walked into the cantina. One of them waved at Zekthara. Evening, old friend, the human called out, telling the war stories again. Someone has to, Deho, Zekthara replied. These young ones need to understand what your people are capable of. The human laughed and joined the group. Mind if I add some details you missed? As new faces gathered around the table, Zekthara raised his glass. To the humans, he said, the most terrifying allies you could ever hope to have. The entire cantina raised their glasses and drank to that toast, because they all knew it was true.